Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Bikes for Death podcast. As always, my name is Patrick, and I am your host. And on today's episode, Aleś Zavoral is joining me all the way from the Czech Republic. He just won the third edition of the Bike Nonstop US Race that just took place last month. He finished in 18 days, 11 hours, and 50 minutes. This year, there were 12 participants. 9 of them were men and 3 of them were women. And I have to be honest, Bike Nonstop US is a race in America that I had never even heard of until Amanda tagged me on Instagram and told me I should interview Aleś. And I wanted to interview Aleś, and I also wanted to find out about Bike Nonstop US. So it turns out that this race is done by the same race organizers that do the Trans America race. A lot of us are going to be familiar with that. And this route is very similar in that it traverses the United States from west to east. However, it maximizes the use of rails to trails, gravel roads, B roads, and avoids major highways and major roads at all costs. Essentially, this is billed as a safer Trans-America bike race. And honestly, after this interview and talking to Aleś, I became very interested in doing this ride myself one day. It sounds absolutely amazing. And I appreciate Aleś coming on the podcast to tell us all about it and his race this year. But before we get to today's episode, let us take a moment to thank the people that made it possible, starting with our latest patrons. So this week, we would like to thank Thomas Subritzky and Michael Young. Thank y'all so much for becoming sustaining members of the podcast. And if you would like to help support future episodes, you can find out how over at patreon.com/bikesfordeath. And now a word from our sponsors. Everybody, welcome back to the show. Eric from Embark Maple. Last time Eric was here, we talked about Embark Maple and introduced you to himself and his company and his product. And today, Eric, I really wanted to take a deeper dive into your product. I mean, you guys are only selling one thing. You sell Embark Maple Energy, and that's it, which is great. You're the specialist. So what can you tell us about this product?
Yeah, we've crested some pretty big climbs since we last talked, and we finally have our rugged packs available. And we set out with Embark to solve a lot of the common pain points I was experiencing in bike packing and kind of type B adventures with tear-off gels. You know, one, that they didn't really taste good, were hard to digest. I could really only take them as a shot with a lot of water. The packs are too small, and once they were open, they always seemed to make a sticky mess in my pocket. And so with Embark, we chose a rugged 3-ounce pouch, equivalent in nutritional density to 3 commercial tear-off gels. You can recap it for multiple uses, so you can always have the right amount. And then there's no sticky mess when you're done. And this helps keep trash off the trail, since a clean pack seems to be easier to keep in your pocket than a sticky one. The other nice thing about Embark Maple Energy is that you can use it different ways on your adventures. You can take it straight, just like you would a commercial gel. There's 320 calories and 80 grams of carbs in the whole pack. Perfect for really long form events where you only want to stop. I personally like stopping once an hour. You can mix it in a water bottle for a hydration aid. I usually do a half pack in a water bottle for an isotonic concentration. That's a 6% carbs. And that's ideal for hydrating on really long rides. My favorite here is the elderberry. The tannins balance the sweetness and just mixes really well in water. It's something I can drink all day long, and I'm always looking forward to the next sip. Then also in rejuvenating, I just kind of camp cocktails, camp cooking. In the morning, I'll have the maple in my coffee and my oatmeal. Sometimes I'll make energy bars with ingredients I can find at resupply stations along the trail, but then also cocktails in the evening. And we're putting together a little Maple Energy Trail cookbook to help people with more ideas as well.
Man, that's awesome. Y'all have thought of everything, but dear listeners, here's what you need to know about Eric. Eric is a bike packer. He's an adventurer. He's a cyclist. And so everything that he's telling you about this product is coming from his own experiences riding bikes, being in the outdoors, and knowing what not only our body needs, but what kind of packaging do we need and what kind of uses do we have for Embark Maple? So this is a multi-use product, and that is so important when we're bike packing. So if you'd like to try Embark Maple, they are now packaged with their new rugged packs. They're available for sale at embarkmaple.com, and they are offering you, the listener, 30% off your first order. All you got to do is enter the code BikesOrDeath30 at checkout. There are no spaces in that. So go to embarkmaple.com, pick up some Embark Maple for yourself, and use code BikesOrDeath30 at checkout to get 30% off. Thanks for coming on the episode today, Eric.
It's always nice chatting.
Today on the podcast, welcome back Tori from Mulberry Gap. Tori, I don't know about y'all, but it is absolutely miserably hot in Texas. And the only thing I can think about right now is fall.
Oh, Patrick, thank you so much for having me on because it's a brief break from being outside in my garden. It is unbelievably toasty warm here. And we are also ready for fall. We are ready for people to come see us. At Mulberry Gap, it's really the best time of the year. And, we love summer and, we're not ready to call it quits yet, but we are ready for folks to start making plans to come check us out. Like right now, we've got these long, hot, humid evenings, and there's something to be said for that. Like it makes the beer taste really good. But, once we hit, about 6 weeks from now, then we start getting the beautiful warm days, those cool, crisp nights, and everything just becomes perfect. You got the beer in your hand, around the campfire, you've got the wine in your hand and the hot tubs at night. Right now, our poor hot tubs are just entirely void of humanity. People are giving them reasonable distance at the moment.
Tori, you're making me forget about the Texas heat a little bit and realize that fall is really just around the corner. I'm looking forward to it. I couldn't imagine anywhere better to be than Mulberry Gap. Where can people go to find out information and start to plan their getaway for this fall?
Definitely. If people are ready to feel the wind on their face as they zip down the trails, see the leaves turning, drink the ciders, eat the fried apple pies, the best place to head is to mulberrygap.com.
Oh, man. I am going to go there right now. Sounds amazing. Thank you so much for coming on, Tori, and I will see you this fall.
Awesome sauce. We hope to see everybody.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, let us get into today's episode. Again, Aleś Zavoral is joining me all the way from the Czech Republic. When we hopped on, it was 10 p.m. his time. He picked the time. He said that was a good time to chat for him. So that just goes to show he is a true endurance athlete. The clock doesn't matter. He can go and go and go. And away we went. So let's get into today's episode. But first, let's have Miles Arbor kick it off with the Bikes for Death theme song.
You load up your bike, you ride away from home. You could be with your friends or you could be alone. You ride for a day or maybe more. You just love being in the great outdoors. Everything you need is strapped to your bars, including that new pillow you got from Santa Claus. And then you think, oh shit, to yourself. You left that super lightweight tent on the living room shelf. Bikes or death. Bikes or death. Podcast.
Howdy. Where are you there, buddy? Are you like in a closet?
I'm in my flat. It's actually attic flat, so that's why you see the timbers here, etc.
Okay.
So in my house,
Well, have you ever done a podcast before? Do you have any?
I did. Actually, yesterday I did a podcast with the Czech Broadcast Network Radio, and I did several podcasts. Mainly when I finished my so far biggest race. I mean, before Bike Nonstop US, which was the North Cape 4000, where I finished second. So it was quite success. So I were in few podcasts. Yeah.
Yeah. Any American podcasts?
No, because it was my first time in America. So so I've never been in America before, so no podcast here. There.
Good. Well, you're a pro then. So I know it's like, is it 10 o'clock where you are? 10 o'clock at night?
Yeah. I told you I'm a kind of night animal, so it's okay for me.
Yeah, that's funny. What time do you need to go to bed? Do you have like a normal job where you have to get up in the morning or what?
Yeah, I have a normal job, but I'm working at home mainly right now because of they changed our contract due to COVID. So before COVID, we had to be at the office every day, and we had just 3 days a month for a home office. But after COVID, then they changed our contract, and now we have to be at least 50% of our working time. We have to work at home.
Don't mind me saying this, I hope, but that's so dumb. Like they should either have you work in the office or work at home, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I can be at home. I can work from home like at least 55%, but I can do also 100% from home. But I don't like it, actually. I prefer to be at the office.
Yeah, you like the interaction with people.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at the beginning, I liked it, but then I realized that it's not so actually good. I prefer to be at the office to have some interaction with my colleagues, etc. And everything is easier and faster,
Yeah. Well, then that works out really well for you because you like the mix of like, it sounds like being at home for a little bit and being at the office for a little bit. It's like kind of a nice blend.
Yeah. I normally like every Tuesday and Wednesday I'm at the office, and every Monday, Thursday, Friday I'm at home.
I'm always curious what people do for a living, especially when you can take off work for 3 or 4 weeks and do a bike race.
Well, I'm working in a company that imports French cars and some German cars, and we will also import some Italian cars to Czech Republic. So I don't know if you know Peugeot as a brand, as a car brand.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So it's Peugeot, Citroën, Opel, and DS. And so we are like the importer of these brands to Czech Republic, and I'm working in a marketing department of this company, and I'm working in a digital department of marketing department. So in my responsibility are websites, social networks, mobile application, customer relationship management databases, etc. And the thing is that I've been working there for 18 years already. So I have really good relationship with my employee. So we made a deal that I can take for my races. I can take like unpaid days off. So I took 1 month off unpaid from the work to be able to race the race in the States.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I mean, that's cool that your company works with you, and also that you're prioritizing. It's like you work, you make the money, you're taking a sacrifice. I mean, it's a financial loss, it's a time, it's a money commitment, but obviously you're prioritizing what's important to you,
Yeah. It wasn't like that always, because before it was like I had to take my days off, so we have like here in Czech Republic, it's normal that you have like 4 weeks holidays, like 4 weeks of days off. In our company, we have 5. So, and when I wanted to go for a race that take 3 weeks, then it was quite difficult with my girlfriend, obviously, because I took most of the holiday for my races, which was not so good. So then I tried to negotiate some better conditions for me in my work, and we agreed on this that I'm able to take unpaid days off for my races, which is great.
So you have like 5 weeks of holiday, plus you can take off more time to go race unpaid.
Yes, exactly.
Wow, man, that's amazing. You know, in America, what you're saying is completely
I know.
opposite of anything we do. Yeah. I like your way a lot better.
This is just really perfect. But I would say it's kind of rare. I think I get this opportunity just because I've been working for this company 18 years, and they know me and they needs me. They are satisfied with me. So which made everything much easier to negotiate.
Yeah, no, it helps if you're valued and needed.
Well,
man, it's that's cool. I love it. Good job. I love. I mean, it's something I've been really intentional about, especially as I've gotten older, is really prioritizing the things that make me happy, the things that bring me value, the things that are sustainable, that sustain me, that stick with me. And working a 9 to 5 and making money and buying a big house or a fancy car isn't the thing that's going to really bring value to your life on a large scale and be like meaningful,
Yes, it's exactly. I have the same opinion. I mean, I have to invest a lot of my money in these races and in this, to be able to do these races. And I could maybe buy some nice car or I don't know, some house or whatever. But I'm not that kind. I rather invest into these kind of experiences, adventure and memories, which will make me happy and which nobody will able to take. So it will be always in my head, and nobody. I will never get how to say. It will be still in my head. Nobody is able to take it out. So
no one can take it out of your bank account.
Yeah, exactly. So it's for forever, But if you buy a new car in 3 years, it's old car. In 5 years, you have to get rid of it. So this is not the way I live.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. I like to prioritize the things again that bring the most value, and they're not material things. They're the things that really stick with you. You talked about the financial aspect of racing, and we're going to talk about how much racing you've done here in a minute. Do you have any support from sponsors or anything, or are you completely supporting yourself?
I have few sponsors, but only like with material. I mean, I have sponsors who provide me with, for instance, helmet and glasses.
Right.
With lights, for instance, I'm using the Phoenix lights, and there is a distributor in Czech Republic who provide me with these lights, etc.
Which Phoenix lights are you using on your bike and your helmet? I just bought some Phoenix lights. I paid for them. They not sponsored. But yeah, I just bought some. Actually, let me go grab it real quick. I want to see which one it is.
Okay, it's the BC30C. Yeah, I have this one as well. This one is great for mountain bike race. Mountain bike races, because this one has a remote control, which I love a lot.
Yeah. Are you using the same one on your handlebar and your helmet?
No, not this one for the helmet. It's too heavy.
Yeah, that's what I think too. I got a pencil light for my helmet.
Yeah, but this one is great for like hard gravel rides or races or mountain bike races, because you have the remote controller which you can place just on your grip, and then you are able to switch modes just from your grip, and you don't need to searching for the button on the light, which is great.
I love that. I didn't even know that it had that feature when I bought the light. I was just kind of going off the reviews and battery hours, and I don't even know what an MAH is, but whatever those things are, milliamps per hour or whatever.
This light, it's my favorite, actually. It's my favorite. But for the race in States, I use the brand new model, which is BC26R, which has a bigger accumulator, 5,000 milliamperes hours. And I like this one as well. It has also wider, wider
beam.
Yeah, wider beam. Yeah, that's it. but it doesn't have the remote control. So that's what I said to the distributor in Czech Republic, that they should push Phoenix to make this light also with the remote controller, because this new light is lighter than the one you have. So this new one you can place also on your helmet and, control it by the remote control on your grip, which is great.
But yeah, I had wished this one was lighter, because it would be nice to use on the helmet with the remote control and have that feature for the helmet. So I agree with you. Now, obviously, you're going to be a little biased, and but I'm curious, have you used Dynamo hubs? And it's I think we're seeing more and more people switching to. I'm switching from a Dynamo, and the Dynamo light and the whole system. I have it on all my bikes, but that was one of the problems for me, was like the cost of building all these different wheels with all the different hubs. And this is something I can take and put on all three of my bikes, and it just clips on. Did you have experience with Dynamos and beforehand?
Yeah, I'm using Dynamos, but I have never used the Dynamo powered lights. I always use accumulation lights with accumulator, like this one from Phoenix. So I never run Dynamo light. I always have accumulator lights.
Okay, so that's an interesting setup. So then you're just using your Dynamo as a way to keep your cache battery charged?
Yes. So from the Dynamo, I charge the accumulators for lights, and also mobile, cell phone and navigation, etc. So that's it. And it works quite well. So during the night, I'm usually charging, a computer and the cell phone. And during day, I'm charging the batteries for the lights.
Okay. And when you say charging, you're charging it only by the Dynamo? Are you ever plugging it in at night in like a hotel?
When I'm in a hotel, of course, I have also like small charger because it's faster. But I'm in this race, I was like able to charge almost everything from the Dynamo, except I had I didn't have any mechanical during this race, but once I stopped in the McDonald's and I wanted to lock my bike to something, there was nothing actually. So I have like a wire locker. So I lock the bike just on the front wheel and fork. And then when I came back from the McDonald's, I forgot that I locked it. And I started to pedal with the lock in, and the locker breaks the Dynamo hub. It breaks the connector, it's actually, just break it. So the connector wasn't there. So I was like, it was really big problem. But then I rode around the UPS garage, where there were a few guys who were just cleaning UPC cars. And I saw that there is a workshop behind. So I just went there, asked them if I could use their workshop there and repair my Dynamo hub. We did it. They helped me with it, and we like fixed it within 20 minutes. I was able to go and charge my stuff again. So which was great. But when it happened, I was like, oh damn, this will really break my race, because then I had the power bank as well. But to charge the power bank in the hotels, you have to stop at least for 5 hours or something. So I was like, oh damn. And then we fixed it within 20 minutes, which was great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I want to go back a little bit and get a little bit of your cycling history. If my math is correct, and I will say that you have an excellent blog website. We'll link to it in the show notes, so that if anybody, you've had a long career in racing. If my math is correct, you started around the age of 30 in 2009. Since then, you've done 136 races. You've done like running, adventure racing, triathlons, ultra endurance racing, mountain bike. It's run the gamut. And so I don't know how to like summarize all that, but I'm wondering, like, what around the age of 30 happened? Did you just start racing? Were you always athletic, or was that like a major kind of shift?
It's actually good questions. I was like very sporty till my 19. I was like a runner. I was in a primary school. I was like competitive rower. And then when I was 18, I stopped with all sports. I did nothing because I went to music. I played drums in some metal bands. And I did it till my, I would say 26 or 27. Then I lived 1 year in Ireland. And when I came back from Ireland, I found a new job. And the job was kind of stressful for me. And I got the high blood pressure disease. So I had really high blood pressure, and once I was taking pills every day to lower my blood pressure, but it was kind of strange because I'm tall, slim, so I supposed to have low blood pressure, but I have a high blood pressure. And once I went to optometrist because I wanted to use contact lenses, and the optometrist asked me if I had some healthy troubles, and I told him no, I'm fine except high blood pressure. And he said, why you have a high blood pressure? I said because right now I have a stressful job for me, and it's just because of stress in work. And he asked me what I'm doing to cure this, and I said I'm taking just pills, or tablets. And he said try to sport, try to do some endurance sport, because if you will train, I don't know, running, cycling, or whatever, your heart rate will go lower, your blood pressure will go lower, and then you can get rid of the pills and tablets. So, and at this time I was about 30, and I have actually nothing to do, just except the work. So for me, it was kind of a good idea to start to do some sport again. And as my schoolmates from university were doing triathlon, so I just joined them actually, or they offer me to join them. So I started with triathlon actually. So and for me it was like I started with running, with a little bit with swimming, a little bit with cycling, and in I don't know 3 or 4 months I was able to run first half marathon. Then I tried first half Ironman and this. So everything went very quickly, because I always wanted to do like longer distances, longer races, etc. So that was it. So it was just because of the high blood pressure.
So how did getting in shape and getting athletic impact your blood pressure? Is it still something you struggle with, or you got off the pills?
No, at all. After 1 year, or maybe less than 1 year, I had actually low blood pressure because of my training. So I get really rid of all these troubles. And right now, until now, I have still low blood pressure. So so everything, it helps me a lot, and it really changed my life in this way. So
yeah.
now I'm healthy. I don't have any trouble at all with so it's perfect. And
did you change your diet at all, or did you do it all through exercise?
Just through exercise, yeah. I didn't do my diet, just through exercise. But I was like exercising a lot. It's always I was born in a sign of Ram. So when you are Ram, and when you take something in your mind or in your head, so you get straight to get it, So I was like, okay, I would like to be healthy. I don't want to take these tablets anymore. And I would like to be also good in triathlon. So I went like in my mind, and that was the direction I went for. And I was training a lot. So the effect on my health was like very fast because the training was so hard, and the body just how to say adapted to these changes, and the high blood pressure was gone.
What about your stress and everything from your job? Did it help eliminate that and give you like an outlet for that?
Yes, it helps with the stress in the work as well, because what I say is that I'm too tired to be stressed by work now.
Yeah. Yes.
Which helps a lot, because really before I was stressful about any small trouble in the works or big trouble, and now it's like, I always said I'm too tired to be stressed by work. It's not, and everything works much better right now.
What about even the perspective of, does doing like ultra hard things like this hard race help put into perspective like your job? Like your job isn't that hard. Ultra racing is hard. Pushing your body for 18 days is hard. I was wondering if that was one of the factors that kind of like help resolve your stress towards your work.
Definitely. Yeah, it's always like this. When I have something difficult in my work, I always remind myself, you went through much harder things during your races. And it helps me a lot to go through these difficulties in a job, for instance. And it's not only about job, it's about any difficulties I'm facing in my life. I always said, like, you went through much harder things during this race, and it's just in my mind. So everything is much easier right now. I wasn't that strong in my mind before I started with this endurance races. Definitely, it helps me a lot.
Yeah, that's what I've found in a lot of people, is that really that mental toughness and that perspective that you get from doing hard things. It helps put other areas in your life in order, in a way. So what got you from, doing triathlons into, I mean, I know you've done Italy Divide, you've done Atlas, and you've done now Bike Nonstop, and these are like ultra endurance cycling. Like, what was that progression like?
It was like, as I said, I started with triathlons, and I trained from like a sprint triathlon to half Ironmans. I did also Ironmans twice, and it was after a while I realized that actually triathlon is not what I was looking for. I would say I found it after 3 years. I had been doing it. I found it a little bit boring, I would say. It was just, you always try to beat your personal best, and there was nothing else for me. And I was like searching for something more adventurous, because I always wanted to find something where I can connect like my love to nature, my love to endurance, my love to adventure. And I didn't find this in a triathlon, because at the end it was always the same for me. You just swim, then you just cycle, and then you just run. And so I was like trying to search for something else, and I read an article in some outdoor magazine about race here in Krkonoše mountains. There are some mountains which are called Krkonoše. And there is a ultra trail running race for 100 kilometers. And there was an article in this magazine. So I read this article, and in this article, the guy described his way through this ultra trail running race. And he described that he was like very tired. He was vomiting. He got a lot of cramps, and it took him 27 hours or something. And I was like, this is something interesting for me. So I immediately after I read this article, I was like, I have to try this. I think this will suit me much more than the triathlon. So within a week, I signed for my first ultra trail running race, which was like for 60K. And it was really, really difficult for me, and I was satisfied with this, how difficult it was actually. So I was not vomiting, but I got a lot of cramps, I got a lot of difficulties, I was really exhausted. And in the end, when I reached the finish line, I was like, okay, this is my sport, so I will do this. So I'd been doing ultra trail running for almost, let's say, 9 years or 7-8 years. And I was better and better and better. And I think I was in a peak in 2015, 2016. So I was also quite high we have like a series of ultra trail running races here in Czech Republic. So in 2015, 2016, I was quite high, but in one training in 2016, I broke my ankle while running some descent, and I was unable to run for another 4 months. And I was like, every day or every time when I have a check with my doctor, I ask him when I can start run again, and he said it's too early, but you can try to cycle, because your foot will be in a pedal, so the ankle will be fixed, so try to cycle. And I said, okay, that's actually a good idea. So I took my old triathlon bike, and next week the employee said you have to take a week off actually. So I said, okay. So I take my bike and cycle from my hometown to the Northern Sea in Germany. It was like 1,000 kilometers, and I did it in less than 3 days. And I was like, wow, this is great. And so I wrote a blog about it, and people like it. And then one guy told me, you know what, there are some races, like, bikepacking races, because I was thinking to do some other trip next year, to I wanted to go to another sea, for instance. And then this guy said, hey, there are some races there in bikepacking. I didn't know about it, actually. And he actually did one in Ireland, which is the Transatlantic Way bike race. And I said, wow, it's great, because I lived 1 year in Ireland, and I didn't have a lot of opportunity to travel there. So I said it would be good to go back there and see the country again from the saddle. So I signed immediately for this race, and I went to Transatlantic Way bike race, and it actually changed my life, because it was like a shift in my racing career. And I remember when I talked before this race in the race organizer, Adrian O'Sullivan, and he asked me whether I did such a race, bikepacking race. And I said no, and he said, so it will change definitely your life. And I said, okay, we'll see. And after this race, I was totally sure that he was actually right. It changed my life, because I realized that bikepacking, it's the right sport for me, because it's ultra trail running, it's fine, but it was just for a few days, or maximum for a few days. The race. But here you can race for 10 days or 18 days, which is great, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a great perspective.
Much bigger fun.
Yes.
So
I wonder how many, as you were talking, I wonder how many cyclists we have that were former runners and are now cyclists through injury, and their doctors. Because I've heard people say this before. Your doctor's like, have you tried riding a bike or going swimming, something less low impact, that kind of thing. I wonder how many people we have, huh?
Yeah, it's maybe a kind of fate, that, it shifts your career. And,
but you still run, it looks like. Looking at your race history, you're still doing running races as well. Do you just like the variety? Do you like the cross training? Are you more focused on one discipline?
Well, yes. The thing is that I have never been like only runner or only cyclist. I prefer to do a lot of sports, because I think if you do only one sport, like running, it leads to injury usually, So I prefer to do. I'm training like still for the triathlon, I would say, So I still cycle, I still swim, I still run a lot. And I think it's much better for your body if you do this kind of training. And that's what I did. And so right now I'm more focusing for cycling, of course. But for instance, now after the Bike Nonstop US, my like cycling season is over. I have no other race this year, except some small local races here in Czech Republic. But I would like to try. I would like to switch my discipline now and run again and do some ultra trail running in the second half of this year, definitely, because I still love running and ultra trail running. So so I'm just about to switch to the running discipline right now.
Yeah, I gotta think that just having a body that is, you know, you can do a lot of things. You can swim, you can run, you can bike, and having that variety makes you a stronger and more well-rounded, capable person. You know, I can't imagine it doesn't have impacts like that ripples into the cross disciplines that you're doing. You know.
Yeah, it's just great because I was like I was also dreaming about to do some adventure races, and like 3 years ago, a friend of mine actually asked me if I want to join his team because they were searching for new guides, their team, and I said, "Oh yes, of course, I would love to do this sport. I would like to try adventure racing." So I did the first race 3 years ago, and now every year I'm doing it again. It's just great. I love sport actually. So
yeah, I love it all, man. It's all good stuff. Do whatever gets you outside and move in your body and put a smile on your face, man. Whatever that is, go do that.
Yeah.
So, Bike Nonstop US. I have to be honest, it was not a race that I'd ever heard of. I got to give a shout out to Amanda on Instagram who like made a comment and tagged me. It was like, "Hey, you should." And Amanda makes you probably don't know this, but she makes some ceramic mugs for Bikes or Death, my company. And so I know Amanda through the internet a little bit. And so whenever she tags me, I'm like, okay, what does Amanda have to say? She put you on my radar. But at the same time, Bike Nonstop US, which I had never heard of. I know now this is the third year that they've done it. But you being in Czech Republic, how did this even like get on your radar?
Yeah, well, it was easy. In 2018, I did the race Nordcup 4000. Which was from Italy to Norway, to Nordcup. And I finished second. And I just love how long this race was. It was a 4,350K. And I was sure that I'm able to do longer races than this. I was sure that I will be able to do like even better performance in longer races, you know, because for me, what is longer is better for me, you know, because I'm not that fast, but I last long.
Yeah. But I mean, until you do it, it was a question mark, right? Until you just did 18 days, like you're saying, it's kind of even hard to find those longer events to even enter into that can really start to push into 2-3 weeks.
Yeah. And so after North Cape 4000, I was searching for longer races. In my radar was North Cape Tarifa, which is from the most northern point to most southern point in the Europe. But the problem there was that I already was on North Cape in Norway, so I wanted to see something different. I didn't want to make a race which is from 1/3 the same as the race I already did. So then I was like thinking, what about America? So I searched for unsupported races in America. I mean, like races from coast to coast. And of course, I found the Trans-American Bike Race. So I was like almost about to register for this race or sign up for this race. But then I listened to a few podcasts and read some blogs about this race. and realized that it's not so safe, because there were also some, rider crashes, or riders were hit by car. I know that one even died, and another was paralyzed in one season. And I was like, no, this is not really what I would like to do, because I don't want to I don't want to be unsafe on the road. And so I was like, okay, so this is maybe not the one I would like to do. So I searched for another. And then I realized that Nathan Jones, the organizer of a Trans-American Bike Race, he actually created an alternative race to Trans-American Bike Race. And he named it Bike Nonstop US. And he created this race to be like more safe and more nicer alternative to Trans-American Bike Race, because this race, it's not only road, it's also on a gravel. So it's like a mixed terrain race. It's a little bit shorter than Trans-American Bike Race, but it's on a mixed terrain, which I love this idea. I love this idea as well. And these were actually the main things that pushed me to sign for this race instead of Trans-American Bike Race.
Yeah, that is one of the things that really stood out to me. The Trans-American Bike Race is one that personally I'm terrified of, the idea of it. And so when I saw this one was, quote unquote, a safer version utilizing mixed terrain, that really appealed to me, and I wanted to learn more about it. So you're the first person I've talked to that's done it. Did you think it was safe? And I also was curious about did it use rails to trails too?
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe you give us like a general overview of like what Bike Nonstop US is.
So Bike Nonstop, what is Bike Nonstop US? So it's the length of Bike Nonstop US, it's 5,700 K. The total
3,500 miles.
Yeah, it's 300 something miles. I don't know.
Yeah, it's 3,500.
Yeah, sorry, 3,500. And the total elevation is not that much. It's only 31,000 meters, so 31K elevation. It's a mixed terrain. The organizer said that it's like 2/3 are roads and 1/3 are gravel parts or sections. I think it was maybe a little bit more for gravel sections, but not half and half. Most of it was definitely road, but I think there were more gravel section than only 1/3. However, at the beginning, first 2,000 kilometers through mountains in Oregon, Idaho, and Wyoming were only on roads. So I think in the first 2,000 kilometers, there was maximum 1% of gravel. I was a little bit disappointed at the beginning that there are no gravel at all, but the gravel started as far as in Wyoming, and then there were a lot of gravel section, especially in Missouri, Indiana, etc. There were these, trail trains, gravel sections, which were great.
Yeah. Does that race adhere to solo self-supported traditional like bikepacking rules? It's a traditional bikepacking race, carry all your own stuff.
Yeah. The rules are the same as Trans-American Bike Race because it's from the same organizer.
Yeah.
And the races are identical.
So did you feel safe? That was one of my questions when you rode this route.
Yes. I just loved it. It was so, the scenery I met there or the scenery I rode through were so nice, and I have never felt unsafe actually on these roads, because when Nathan designed this road, he chose only small roads, gravel, and cycling paths. Like official cycling paths. For instance, through cities, we usually pass cities on the cycling paths, which was great.
Okay.
So And in general, I can say that there were only one section. I think it was about 30K, which is 20 miles, where this section wasn't, so nice one. It was on a highway. I think it was, I don't remember the name of the states, but I remember name of the cities. It was from Norfolk to Fremont.
That's Virginia.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, in Virginia. And this part was not so nice and also not so safe, but it was only 20 miles from 3,500 miles. So it was okay. So
pretty damn good. I can't imagine how long it took him to piece that all together. I mean, if it's using bike paths and all the small roads, and I'm excited by it, man. The idea of it. I wonder if that event, because we haven't mentioned this yet, but I think only 12 people registered and signed up for this year's race. So like hardly anybody. Not a lot of people do Trans-America, but my feeling on that is partially that's due to safety issues and people's, that's going to be a limiting factor for a lot of people. So I'm wondering if this route has the potential to see a lot more participation in the future.
I would love to see much more rider on this race, because really the race is beautiful. The road is beautiful. It's safe. It's so funny. It helps a lot, because always when I was tired about roads, then there was a gravel section, and when my ass was not so happy about gravel section, then there was a road section. So it was great, and I love the trails. I love the mountains in first three countries, and I mean, really, this road it's just great. I mean,
that's great to hear.
The only problem, I think, and the reason why there weren't so many riders, is that it doesn't have a name, which was caused by the pandemic, because the first season was in 2019, and there were 19 riders, and then there was the pandemic. So in 2020, it was canceled. I actually signed for this race in 2020. So I supposed to do the second season, but it was canceled due to COVID. And then in 2021, it was European weren't able to travel to the States, so I couldn't.
Right. Yeah.
So this year was the first year when I can do it. So, and I think the problem of this race is that it doesn't have a name yet. So I hope we will help it. And,
I'm pretty good at coming up with names. I wonder if is he like looking for suggestions for real? He doesn't have it. I mean, it's called Bike Nonstop US, but that's just like a placeholder name.
Yeah. So
that's funny.
We have to ask Nathan about.
Well, yeah. I'm just kind of kidding, but it is funny if it doesn't have a name. Nathan, if you're listening and you need help with a name, just let us know. We'll get a brainstorming crew together. But it's exciting, dude. I mean, you make me. The idea of riding across America is very appealing. Whether you're visiting the country and you want to experience America, you kind of want to see the whole thing, or even as an American, you want to, you're like, yeah, I rode that motherfucker, but Trans-America doesn't do it for me, for safety reasons. And so this is something I'm kind of excited about,
Because there were also two guys from Czech Republic that did the Trans-American bike race, I think 3 years ago before pandemic. And I asked one of them about the race, about how it is with the safety, whether the road is nice, etc. And he said actually, it's sometimes it's really dangerous, because there are big traffic there are big trucks there. Nobody cares so much about cyclists on these big highways, etc. And I was like, it's not for me. So I was really happy when I realized that Nathan came with this new road and race. And really, I immediately signed for this one. And I'm so glad that I did it, actually.
I'm glad you did too. I'm glad we're talking about it. One thing that's interesting about Nathan, like from a race promoter standpoint, I mean, there is very little information about. It looks like he does 3 different races. You can go online and look them up, but very little information. I mean, it's a route file. It's like the resources tab is a route file, no description, no nothing. So how did you prepare for this route from like a logistical standpoint? What was your strategy?
You mean how to get to the race, or how to
No,
race?
like how like when you were at home preparing, you know, from a logistical standpoint for like resupply points, where you're going to sleep, where you're going to get water, you know, how did you do much planning, or did you just carry a lot of shit on your bike? Like, what was your approach to that?
My approach was the same as for any other races. I always prepare my cue sheets. So I download the GPX file, and with the with GPS, I prepare my cue sheets, and on these cue sheets I always put, you know, at least every 40K I try to put some resupplement point, like gas stations or cities or whatever, and also borders. So I always know what is ahead of me, so where I will find some resupply places, cities, etc. And that's actually it. And regarding to sleeping, etc., I took my lightest sleeping system I had, which was enough for this race, except the first 4 days in the mountains. They were very cold. So I had the biggest problem for me was like kind of sleeping strategy, because when I did the North Cape 4000, I slept 3 hours a day, and when I arrived to the finish line, I was really, really destroyed. So I listened a lot of podcasts about Trans-American Bike Race with riders who did it. And from this podcast, I learned that most of them slept from 4 to 5 hours a day. So I decided to sleep 5 hours a day during this race. And when I was in a race and I slept 5 days a day, except the first night. Then I think it was after 6 or 7 days, I realized that 5 hours is actually too much for me, because I was like too fresh. So I shorted for 4, and it works the best. So as I said, like first 6 or 7 days I slept 5 hours a day, and then I slept only 4 hours a day. And in the last night I slept only 1 hour to be able to finish in a daylight, because when I counted, I realized that I would finish about midnight, and I wanted to finish in the daylight. So last night I slept only 1 hour, and I finished with sunset, actually, at 9 p.m.
And why did you want to finish during the day?
Because in our previous races, I finished always in the night, and I was kind of disappointed that there was nobody, etc. So I was like, at least in New York, because the finish line is great. It's the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., which is a great place. I have never been there. I saw this place many times in movies, in some documents, etc. And I was like, I would like to finish in the daylight to be there, you know. So, and also it was last night, and last night you have to push. You have to use everything what remains, you know.
Right. Yeah. No need to keep a reserve for the gas tank. Leave it all out there.
My idea was actually to go nonstop the last night, but I was not able. I was too tired, so I slept 1 hour and then I continued.
Yeah. So how was the finish line? Was there people there?
there were a lot of people there, but nobody cares. They didn't know.
Well, I guess, did anybody come to like cheer you on?
Yeah, but I managed to have somebody to be there to welcome me there, and I also they also provide me with the accommodation after the race, etc. So it was great.
Oh wow.
So
going into this race, what was your goal? Were you trying to win? Were you just trying to do your best, see how you could do for 18 days, or what was your goal?
Yeah, I had several goals actually, because first I wanted definitely to win it, and when I realized that there are not so many riders, I was actually afraid that there would be nobody to fight with,
Mm-hmm.
And I was so happy that when in a briefing before the day before the start, I found that there are actually two younger guys, and just when we started during the first day, I realized that Jared, what was his name? Jared Ksanovic, I think.
Ksanovic.
Yeah, he was pretty fast. He was maybe too fast. That actually ended with his scratch, and I was really happy first 4 days that there was somebody to fight with. It really helps. So, and I definitely wanted to win this race, and it was great to fight with Jared. But when we were together, he told me that he rode actually Bike Nonstop US last year, and he did it in 24 days. And he told me that he did it more like a bike touring. He said that he 12 hours pedaled and 12 hours rested. And he said that this year he wanted to push hard. And after first 1 or 2 days, I realized that he's maybe pushing too hard. And so then I started to be behind him. So I let him go for, let's say, 10 or 30K in ahead of me. And I didn't try to go over him, to pass him, because I think he was pushing too hard from my point of view. So I was behind him. And so we met several times a day. Just we cycled together for a while, and then he continued with faster pace, and I did not accept this pace. And I was like, will he be able to keep this pace or not? So I was like a little bit, I think not, because he's young guy, he's 28, and I think he doesn't have so many experiences I have. And it ended up like this. I think it was after fortnight, he just didn't start the day. He slept in some accommodation I saw on a tracker, and he didn't start the day. So I tried to send him a message through Instagram, and he answered that his knees are fucked up and his tendons are painful, etc., and he's about to scratch, and he scratched up. So then it was, I think, 4th or 5th day, and since that I was the only one in the lead, which was really difficult to keep pushing like this,
Yeah. I swear you could read my show notes, because my next question was actually about what did you prefer, because you were in a pretty close neck and neck race for the first 4 days.
Yes.
And then after that you had just a huge lead. I was wondering which one you preferred. It sounded like you preferred having somebody to chase and probably keep you mentally occupied. Yeah.
Definitely. I was like, when I was alone, it was like, should I push that hard or not? Maybe I can more enjoy, the nature, etc., people, etc. But I love pushing, and there was nobody to push against. So, and actually, before the race, when I realized that there are only 11 riders, I was like, it could happen that I will be alone in the front, and so I should have another like goal if it happened, So I checked what is the course record, and the course record from 2019 was like a little bit more than 16 days. So it was my next goal. So my next goal was try to beat the course record. And so when I was alone in the front, so I said, okay, so let's push to try to beat the course record. And that was my goal for the first half. And then when I was in the half of the race, I was there in 8 days and 14 hours. And it was, so I had the harder half behind, and in front of me it was, according to a profile, the easier half. So I was like, okay, it could happen that I think I'll be able to cut these 14 hours and finish it about 16 days. But I really underestimated the second half, really underestimated. The second half was actually much harder than the first half, because of weather, which was very hot, and because of which was almost all the time headwind. So because when you see the profile of this road, the first half is very hilly, and then it's actually flat or descending, and then there is the Big Savage Mountain close to Washington, and that's it. There is only one peak there. So I was like, second half, it's a easy peasy one. It will be it could be in a 6 day or 7 days max.
Yeah.
But it's really, really big underestimation. Really.
Yeah, you pegged my next question as well, because I put on my show notes that the elevation profile almost looks humorous. It's like the first half is hard and the second half is like just a cakewalk. So
my imagination.
When you got smacked in the face essentially with your new reality that the second half is going to be slower, it's going to be harder than you thought. Was it hard mentally to stay in it? What did you do to keep yourself motivated to keep pushing?
The thing is that I enjoyed the fact to be in this kind of race stress, I love this, So I try to keep this race stress still ongoing. So I always, for instance, when I hit the gas station, I run my stopwatch, to see how much time I'm spending on the gas station and try to minimize it, etc., etc. So I was still doing the same what I would do if I had the other competitor close to me, and this helps me to keep the good pace, But as once again, second half was really difficult for me because I'm not used to such a hot weather, because and pedaling whole day against wind, against the headwind, it was just awful. It was really awful. So I was unable to move in during the noon, and after it was really difficult even to move. So I was able to pedal for 1 hour, and then I was maybe 20 minutes close somewhere in a gas station because there was aircon there, So because I had to cool myself down at least for 10 or 20 minutes to be able to continue for another hour. It was dead hot for me, really. So then when I calculated, I realized that I won't be able to beat the course record just because of this, because I wasn't able to pedal during the day. And I was also thinking to switch the tactic to pedal during the night and sleep during the day. But the problem is that I have difficulties to sleep during a day. I need a really dark surrounding, no light at all, to be able to, even when I'm tired. So I tried it in a race I did in 2019, which was from Vienna to Barcelona in Europe. And I tried to actually switch from the day cycling to night cycling, and it doesn't work for me. I was even more tired and inefficient. So during this race, during Bike Nonstop US, I was thinking about this switch, but then I remember how I felt during the three-peak bike race from Vienna to Barcelona. And I said, no, let's continue this way and it will work better for you. Because it was like every day, it was like usually I started about 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. And until 10 a.m. it was okay. And then from 10 a.m. it started to be very hot. It started to be very windy, always headwind. And it was like that until 7. But then from 7 p.m. it was again good, So I didn't want to go to bed at 7 when the conditions were again good to ride. So, so I just kept riding till, let's say 10 or 11. And then I went to, then I sleep for these 4 hours.
Did you go back to 2019 and look at their weather to see like how hot it was or even?
No, at all. I had no idea.
I'm curious. Yeah. Anyway, I was just wondering. What about at the beginning of the race, those first 4 days, it felt like, or whenever we were talking about it, that you were kind of gauging your race pace a little bit off of what Jared was doing and kind of like staying behind him a little bit. Do you think that you could have pushed a little bit harder in the beginning? And do you think that, the course record could have been out there at all, or?
Yes, I think I think I had bad mindset about the second half. So I should set my mindset that the first half would be actually easier for me, because I love climbing, I love mountains. So next time I would switch my mind and said to myself that the second half would be more difficult and the first half will be easier. And I would try to push much more in the first half.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you never know. And this was also your first time to do a over 2 week race. So it's hard to know how much you're going to have at the end, I would think, and managing your body and everything that whole time.
But I have to say that I arrived in quite good shape. When I compare my status when I finished North Cape 4000 and when I finished Bike Nonstop US, when I finished North Cape 4000, I was, as I said, I was destroyed. I was like really, really tired. I had hallucination last like 50K. It was really hard one. But in opposite, when I finished Bike Nonstop US, the only problem the last day was that I slept only 1 hour. So I was like sleepy, but still, I had no problem at all. I was just tired. I was just sleepy, but I had no cell sores. I had no pain anywhere. I didn't have problem with any tendon or whatever. I felt great.
That's awesome. So how do you feel about that? Do you feel great that you felt great, or do you feel like, oh, darn, I should have pushed it harder so I feel,
Yeah, I mean, if there were another riders with me in the front, I would push definitely harder.
Yeah.
And there were, I mean, I had the ability to push harder, definitely. I think I would be able to do it at least for 1 day faster if there would be someone to fight with,
Yeah. Well, hopefully next year there'll be more people that sign up. Do you see yourself coming back to this event and doing it? I mean, obviously it's a huge financial and time commitment. Aside from just choosing to do it, there's a lot of extenuating reasons that makes it challenging.
I will be back. I will be definitely back in States, not next year, but in 2 years. But it won't be for Bike Nonstop US, but it will be for the Tour Divide.
Oh, nice.
I would love to do Tour Divide. So I crossed the states from the west to east, and in 2 years I would like to cross the states from the south from the north to south.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I was wondering if you would tackle the Tour Divide from a cycling standpoint. The Bike Nonstop being, you were on a gravel bike, right? Essentially, you were riding a gravel bike. Which discipline of cycling do you prefer? Like the more mountain biking Tour Divide style? Do you prefer more of the Bike Nonstop US or?
I think better fits me or suits me races like this one, like the Bike Nonstop US, like more roads, a little bit gravel, because regarding to mountain bike races, I think I'm still not that good in technical sections, which slows me down. And but I'm getting better, I would say. So I hope in 2 years I'll be fine. So I did in 2020. I did the first season of Atlas Mountain Race, where I finished 13th from 200 or how many riders there were there. So I think because I'm going to race Atlas Mountain Race next year again, I signed for the second season, but it was due to pandemic. It was postponed. It will be this October, but I'm busy in October, so I ask what's his name? I forgot the name of the organizer. How could I?
Liam.
Yeah. I asked him to postpone my registration for the February 2023. And I would like to also do the Circuit Mountain Race next year. So next year I will do both races of Nelson 3.
Yeah. If you can handle, both those, and you've already done the Atlas, obviously you can handle it. But I guess what I'm saying is, by the time Tour Divide comes around, you'll probably have developed some more skills with like the mountain biking aspect and the skills portion.
I hope so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're going to kill it. So coming from outside of the United States, was this your first time in the States or just your first time racing in the first time? What surprised you, good or bad, about riding, racing, being in America?
What surprised me, it was something what I was expecting, but because I heard that people in the States are still smiling, still in a good mood, very kind and open, and this was actually what I found there. Everyone was smiling at me. Everyone was interesting of me. Everyone asked what I'm doing there with this bike, and when I said that I'm riding a race across America, everyone was like really interested, talked to me. It was great. I had a great time with people just to talk to them, and also I was surprised how they care about, because it happened to me that they always like try to say me, okay, there is a storm coming or something, be in a safe or be careful about traffic. There is a peak time now, etc. I was like, never happened to me in Czech Republic, So
that's good to hear. What is it like in Czech Republic then?
Nobody cares.
Just like you do your own thing. No one's interested.
Yeah. Like it.
So Americans are just nosy, is what you said.
Yeah.
But at least they're polite about it.
Yeah. I think it was also because in the first half, I would say I met like one cyclist per state, which is in Czech Republic, you will meet like 4 cyclists per 1 kilometer. But in first half, I met really 1 cyclist per state. And first real cyclist I met in Omaha. When I approached Omaha, I noticed that there was a cyclist, so I catch him. His name was Will. So if I can say hello to Will. So hello.
Of course. Hey, Will.
Hey, Will. And it was great to meet real cyclists, like. And so I talked to him, and it was great. He told me a lot about Omaha, and he also recommended me a nice sandwich bar where I stopped for resupply. And it was great to talk to some real cyclists. It was great. It was really great. And
what about
then,
go ahead. Sorry.
And then after Omaha, there were more and more cyclists on the way. And in Washington or Cincinnati, etc., there were already a lot of cyclists. But the first half, there was almost like no cyclists at all. Once per state. One per state.
Yeah, that's surprising, especially up in the mountains and everything. You think, think you'd be out there riding your bike. That's where I'd want to be riding my bike.
There was only one point because we like hit the border of Yellowstone Park, and then we crossed Teton National Park, and there were actually also the road of Tour Divide. And when I was there, they told me, "Are you racing Tour Divide? You are somehow slow, no?" And I said, "No, not a race. It's not Tour Divide. I'm not that slow. I'm actually leader of this race." They said, but there were so many riders from Tour Divide. So yeah, but I was there like 14 days after.
Oh, that's
because
so funny.
Tour Divide started 10th of June, and we started 19th of June.
Yeah. So looking back on it, what are you proud of? What did you do well, and what did you maybe learn, or something you could have done better?
I'm pretty proud about the time, because, as I said, it was really difficult to keep to keep pushing when you are really alone in the front, and I knew that I had like 3 or 4 days, advantage. So I could really stop for a day, and I would be still in the lead. So I'm proud that I kept pushing till the end. What I learned that the United States are actually very nice in terms of nature. I saw all the states on the way, and I was really surprised how beautiful it was, especially the first half, because I love mountains. So Wyoming, it was my favorite state, because there was also gravel parts in this. There started the gravel part, because before that it was only tarmac. But in Wyoming,
I have to pause you real quick, because on the last episode, my guest said that Wyoming was his least favorite state, and he was talking about on the Tour Divide. And I was like, "Don't worry, Wyoming. Other people love you." And so, see, there you go. Some people love Wyoming, just different
Wyoming
people.
Was great. But I think when they crossed Wyoming, it was full of snow there, no?
And he said mosquitoes and sand and
mosquitoes. Yeah. This I forgot, actually, because I was in a hurry in Wyoming, because I had to find sleep in accommodation, and I was really in a hurry and in this gravel section, and I stopped for a minute to take a picture of my bike, because there was nice dam or something with very nice light, because it was just before the sunset, and I stopped like for 30 seconds to take a picture, and I was beaten by mosquitoes. It was terrible. It was really terrible. Yeah, but actually I had the spray against insect with me, so I just sprayed myself, and then it was better. But without this, I wouldn't survive there. It was so bad in terms of mosquitoes.
Yeah, mosquitoes are my nemesis. I nothing outdoors really bothers me as much as mosquitoes. I'd rather be around mountain lions and bears and lightning, whatever. But mosquitoes are just the worst. They're just annoying.
Yeah, exactly. I saw one grizzly, and he was kind. Mosquitoes were much.
Yeah, the bears are nice. It's the mosquitoes you got to watch out for.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
funny. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast, man. And I enjoyed chatting with you. It's getting late where you are. I'm like getting into, it's like almost 4:30 here, so just
Yeah,
like
here
midday.
30 to midnight or something like that. But it's okay. I told you I'm a night animal. I'm fine.
Well, you're an endurance athlete. You're used to going for a long time without sleep, so getting a few less hours one night's no big deal. But no, I enjoyed talking to you. Congratulations on winning, and also just putting this race on my radar. I'm wondering how many other people aren't even that aware of it, and you sold me. I'm not even kidding. I want to go. I want to go do it. I'm sold.
Yeah, you have to. And I hope that we really put this race into radar to other riders, because really I would love to see next year much more riders in this race, because this road is just beautiful and it's safe. You don't have to be afraid of the fact that there will be heavy traffic or etc., or you will feel unsafe. The road is great. It's well designed. I have to really say thank you to Nathan that he designed such a nice road. And also, I also talked to Mark, and the third rider who finished this race, Mark McConnell, if I'm not wrong. And he told me that he actually raced a Trans-American bike race when there were these two accidents with the car accident with the rider that got hit or even killed by a car. So I asked him, what do you think about Trans-American bike race and Bike Nonstop US? And he said, Bike Nonstop US is amazing. The road is so nice, safe, etc. And I said, okay, that's exactly what I wanted to hear from you, because you did the Trans-American bike race and you can compare it. And he said, this road is amazing.
Yeah. No, you've really showcased and made a great argument for the route just through telling your story. And I think it's even more telling the fact that you do come from Czech Republic, where, like you said, there's a lot more cyclists. I'm guessing cycling infrastructure is better. People are more aware of cyclists, whereas you're coming to America and we don't have that. And so for you to come here and feel safe, I think is even probably an extra level of endorsement,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, thanks, dude, and congrats again. Yeah, you can go to sleep now. And
I'm so stoked to be there.
You're stoked for what? Sorry.
I'm stoked that I had the opportunity to be here with you in your podcast, Bike or Dead, because I love this podcast. I've been listening to this podcast for years already, so it's great.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I love getting a chance to talk to people, and in my opinion, I think you included some of the most amazing endurance athletes on the planet. I mean, if you can push your body and your mind for 18 days, and you didn't have, you had a huge gap. And so you pushed yourself. There wasn't even somebody there to chase or to try to stay ahead of or anything like that. You had to just make a choice mentally that you were going to keep pushing yourself. And I think that's fucking badass. And so I think it's cool to be able to talk to you, man.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Well, you'll get to hear yourself on the podcast soon.
Yeah, I hope so.
All right. Thanks, buddy. Have a good night.
Okay. Bye. Thanks you very much.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And again, thanks to Aleś for joining me all the way from the Czech Republic. And again, congrats on your big win here in America on your first race. How exciting. All right. Well, next week's episode is to be determined. I know who our next guest is going to be. Next up on the podcast, we're going to have Anna Jagger, who was the Women's Tour Divide winner for 2022. The only unknown here is I will be on a family vacation next week, and we'll also be trying to put out this episode. So I'm not going to make any promises, but I'm going to do my best to get that episode out to y'all lovely people next week. But if I miss next week because I'm having too much fun on vacation, well, I'm sorry, and we'll be back on your podcast playlist the week after. All right, well, last week I left y'all with a inspirational Bible verse about leave no trace principles. And I think I'm going to start trying to include some quotes or inspirational thoughts at the end, or even something funny. Who knows? But we're going to mix it up a little bit and start adding these in towards the end of the episode just because I feel like it. And this week's quote that sat with me is by one of my favorite authors, Edward Abbey. And he says, "Wilderness is not a luxury, but a necessity of the human spirit. Short, sweet, and to the point." All right, everybody, until next week, thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to being back in your ears very soon. But until then, don't forget, go ride your damn bike.
It was the middle of the night. You grabbed your knife and you held it tight. The sounds of beasts kept you awake. The sounds they made kept you afraid. In the morning, you packed your bike. Memories forgotten from the previous night. You rode faster than ever before. Was it your imagination or merely folklore? Fear turned into strength as you pushed further. Every pedal stroke stronger and firmer. Your bike feels weightless, your legs aren't tired. You think to yourself, just a few more miles. Bikes or death. Bikes